Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Tony Talks, where I have conversations with inspirational leaders, influencers, and change makers. People that aren't just doing well in life, but that are doing good in the world by contributing back and sharing their knowledge with others and helping make the world a better place, even if just one person, one company at a time. When I say company, because today, my friends, it is Marketing Mondays, where we have our marketing expert, Scott Martin from Groundswell Marketing. He is the outside the box thinker. He is having conversations with us that we are not having with many other people, certainly thinking outside the box and taking a look at what's next. So with that said, let me bring him on. He's already in the green room. There he is, the one and only Scott Martin with that painting in the back, as always.
The surf painting. You might be getting a different view. Jill's trying to convince me to change my desk angle, but I really like the backdrop, so we'll see.
Yeah, there you go. I love. I was actually on, for whatever reason. I don't know why I wasn't on that page, but now I am. So I've been taking a look at some of that art. It's good, great stuff. I don't know why I wasn't on. I thought I was. I thought I was following you on all your stuff. So if you just felt like
that, yeah, you just like something there.
If you saw that, I just now all of a sudden I'm showing up in different places. I'm like, how the heck am I not on this page and that page when we've been talking about it?
Well, so, I might take my take a cue from you and start doing these outside on my deck.
Oh, it's just great weather for it. So yeah. I have to move a little bit because you see the sun is kind of reflecting off the car, so it's So I'm having to, make sure the lighting is right. But yeah, you should. Actually, Brian and I started doing these outside. The other day, I actually put this chair out there in the grass, and I did it from the grass with my feet in the grass, getting a little grounding.
If I can get Wi-Fi down to my fire pit, maybe I'll do a fire pit one. I'm just hardwired in right now.
Oh, and by the way, you don't even know this, but I just ran out of time because I was going from call to call. But I was actually going to do this at the beehives.
Oh, really?
The next one. I think I'll lose signal. And I have a net in my house, like a wireless net. So I was going to do it and move it out there. But next weekend, I have to.
I'll do a test. I can do a test, and maybe I'll do it for my fire pit. We'll do it the remote version.
Yeah, I'm afraid that I'll lose quality if I go out. I mean, it's only about 100 feet away, but I might start to lose quality.
I think I'll lose quality. It's too far. I think it might be too hard for me, anyways.
So. Yeah. So. Today, again, we're talking all things marketing. We're talking about, and today I think we're going to have an opportunity to speak about social media again, and Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and all those other platforms, because we are going to have another guest joining us, and she hails from the great state of New Jersey. That's right, another one of my patriots from New Jersey. It is Miss Amanda Rafael.
Oh, I'm in the middle.
I know I can't be the Oreo anymore. What's going on with that?
I might be able to fix that. Let me see. How am I going to do that? Hold on. Let's see.
There it is.
Double trouble, double the fun, double stuffed on a madness marketing Monday.
Marketing sandwich.
Yeah. Welcome, Amanda. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for showing up in the world the way you do.
Thank you so much for having me. And, I've been following your content for a handful of weeks now that Tony's been having you on his show, Scott, and I just admire your ability to give direct, bullet, straight-on feedback about different things. And so I've been in the healthcare industry for over a decade, and I switched into the digital industry. So I have tons of different questions about people from that startup base. Specifically, if you were to say to someone who's having a startup business now during the pandemic, everything else, where would they begin with their marketing campaign? And what are maybe one or two of the most important things that someone needs to consider?
Okay. Hey, first, thank you for the kind comments. That's super nice. Usually when I'm told I'm really direct, I've been told I need to create some softeners, and so I can be a little direct to the point, so I get so focused. So that's hopefully that's good. That's been good. I guess before I would answer that, I guess the question I have is, what is the like this is your business, or are you doing it for somebody? What's the marketing?
Oh, so I have 3 different businesses that I am working with right now, and why don't we pick the one that I'm specifically working on?
Okay. So it's an actual. So you're the supplier, right? And you're working on someone's business, and you want to grow this business. So you're kind of focusing on one that we're going to talk about or whatever. So you're the one that's helping do the marketing, correct?
Yeah. So I guess it's also, do you do the funnel first? Do you do the Facebook first? Do you do the web page? What's the starting point?
Well, the starting point in my mind is the relationship. This is going to sound really strange. This is not where you want to start. So for me, the place that I would start is and I'm not rubbing my eyes for any reason of the body language that I actually had an itch in my eye, and I was really conscious of it.
Dude, I take myself off screen all the time now because of that. Jan is in my head. Every time I get
on a show, I'm worried about touching my beard or something.
Or the
body language. Yeah, totally. Right? Like, hey, let me tell you what you should really do,
Yeah. And I'm outside, so I'm dealing with mosquitoes and gnats. So I'm like trying not to rub my nose because it's bad.
Okay, so the question was, what would you start? And what I would start with is the relationship, expectations and relation between you and the person the supplier, the person you're working with. And why I say that is because how you proceed is based a lot on their resources, their appetite, their resistance or concern for risk or lack of risk. Another one is time frame. What is their time frame for cash flow, or what are their expectations? Is probably a bigger blanket to put under. What are the expectations? So that does really reflect on how you want to proceed. So it's kind of hard. It's sort of like saying when someone goes if you're a doctor and you have different people have different sort of they want, help me grow or help me not grow or lose weight. First you need to know who the patient is, and you need to know a little bit about their body type, their weight, their eating habits, and so forth. So, I really want to be careful about not making a prescription. I'll make some generalizations, but I want to state that first, because that to me, I view myself as a practitioner, as a professional, and it would be unprofessional for me to just make blanket statements that are without knowing all the details. And I really want to put it. I think that when you're doing that, you probably naturally already natively interact with them and asking those questions. So maybe that's the first place I'll tell anybody is first, make sure those are really understood. 2 is, what is the goal? What are you going to measure? What is going to be what's success? By you posting a bunch of stuff and doing whatever ideas I'm going to give you, how do we know that we're succeeding? And then,
sorry.
Go ahead.
So for instance, to give you a little backdrop of it, I myself, and then I have a team of 5 that we created a group where it is a business-based group that's assisting other entrepreneurs to start, maintain, or scale their own business. And within that group, I just got the numbers, a text message, we're over 180 now in the matter of 3 weeks, and it's private, and we're not doing any marketing or anything like that for it. So it's really just word of mouth right now. And our goal is to really help everybody, but specifically in that group, we have tons of people, over 60 of them are starting their own business. So let's say if someone was starting from scratch and they had $1,000 and they wanted to make a course, but they also needed to worry about bills and whatnot from their family. And the course would be that it would be a one-time course. What would be the way you'd proceed with something like that?
So the question is, if somebody has a course and they're trying to build a course for under $1,000, what would be the things that they do first?
Yeah. So either you have no money and you're building this course and then you're not going to put anything into it. What do you do? Versus if you had $1,000 to put into a marketing budget, starting lower cost, what would you do? Yeah,
the very first thing I would do is focus on clarity. Message. What are you selling? What's your value proposition? Value proposition is, what is their motivation for whoever I'm selling to? It equals the perceived value minus the perceived cost. Really getting clear. What is the value proposition that I'm providing to the universe, to the people that I'm trying to reach? And to me, getting total clarity there is job number 1. You have to have that really clear, because no matter marketing, doesn't matter what channel you're on, nobody's going to understand why I'm following you. Two is, what are you intention of, what is it that you want these people to do? So these people in this group or whoever you're trying to market to, are you trying to get them to follow you, learn from you, listen to you, entertained by you, buy from you? And that's where I think that a lot of people get tripped up on, is they get so focused on the tactic, not focused on the message. And that can be, it works the same way if you're doing a conversation over a Zoom, a DM, a phone call, an email. If you don't have that clarity, you're not going to have whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. So going back to the beginning, what is the outcome? Like, really, it's like, what is the outcome that you want to have? So if it's a course, so in this group, I'm trying to get, I'm a little confused though, because like you said, you have a group of over 100. Are you trying to sell a course to these 100 and more people that are joining? Or somebody in this group is trying to do a course and you're trying to advise them?
Both. So which one do you want to start with?
Let's start with you.
Okay. So the idea is that this would be turning into a membership-based company where people would have monthly memberships for accountability, for masterminding. And so that would need something that's more long-term. The audience is anyone who's a solo entrepreneur or a beginning entrepreneur with a team of 3 or less people. And the problem that I'm trying to solve for them is teaching them simple, digestible business tactics that they can move forward with by having a weekly masterminding to have that peer-to-peer contact, and then daily accountability.
Okay. And then it's a business, right? So what is how are you going to monetize it? What are you going to sell?
Right now, it would be the monthly membership that's being sold to be a part of the masterminds that are happening weekly, and then an additional amount for the accountability. I didn't mean to scratch my nose for the jam thing. Just having it. Sorry. And to have the accountability as well. And then the higher level would be people that are on my team. They would get coaching from them. Some of the people have been in business for 25 years, for 17 years. We have, 4 or 5 different coaches that are on staff that they could receive the individual coaching from.
Okay. So that you want to migrate the people, the 100 people, soon to be more people, into a paid version of the group, or is it going to be, you're going to pay for people are going to pay to stay remain in the group?
The first option. So that's also something I hear about consistently, is how do you take people that are from a free model into a monetized model?
Very hard. It is, because people are used to getting something for free, right? I went through a webinar with Mighty Networks, which is a really amazing platform that I'm using for a mastermind. I'm sure have you heard of it?
Yeah.
And so the owner there was describing in great detail how difficult it is to go from free to freemium, right? To make the migration. And to me, that is probably the biggest challenge, because people are used to getting all this free content, and they're usually sometimes attracted there because of the free content. So you got to decide, is this going to be a channel as a funnel almost, like where you're just going to go, look, we're just going to create content. That's what I've done these very same things. I've got huge groups, but and I just do it for free. I just basically put it in free, and I treat the community as a community. And some people, a community is meant where people can post stuff, right? And it's meant for dialogue, and some use a community, and I use a community a little bit one way, because I basically control all the things get posted, because I want to curate. I want to make sure it's good stuff, because I had communities where people are posting janky stuff or inappropriate things or selling, and it just flew out of control. It didn't create some continuity. So what I would do is think about, what do you want this community to do? Do you want people to talk together about solutions, about what you're selling or what you're doing? Or do you want this to be a community and a buzz around a topic, and you're providing free stuff? It matters, because how you migrate, it depends on what your intention is for the group. So could you describe the intention of the group?
Sure. The intention of the group is for people to be able to network within the 3 different categories of their business. So it would be split up into they're where they're starting their business, they're maintaining their business, or they're scaling their business. So link up with like-minded people to be able to have exchange of resources to then network and move forward.
So what would it prevent somebody going, hey, I'm another consultant, I'm in the group, and I'm going to sell what you're selling in the group? How does that roll?
We just, right now, because the group is small, we have a Facebook moderator, and then we have individual admins that are moderating the group. And anything that gets posted, there's people every day that are going in and they're checking it. You know,
what are the rules for the group, though?
The rules are no promotion, no scamming. Anything that you want to sell, you have to pass it by the 5 admins and the moderators of the group right now.
Okay. And are you the one that's going to be offering or the services to migrate people to? Or is there multiple people, or how does that work?
It's under one umbrella. So even though that there's 5 people, we're all migrating together. There's no breakouts right now.
Okay. Okay, cool. So the challenge is that when someone's into the group, right, then you got to go, hey, we're giving value. By the way, tap, the paid really extra values over here, right? Because that's really what you're saying, right? Like, we're providing networking, which is kind of cool. Like, if you're providing an environment for people to network, that can be great. But then you have to recognize that the mindset of people have to see the value of going, oh, I'm going from this free exchange and make some linkage to go to this new group. It's really difficult. Some of the best groups I've seen are the other way around, which is I have a course. So you take I'm trying to like Marie Folio or something, like someone's got a great like following stuff. They've got a process that I think works great, because they're selling a sort of a school or a course or a software, and then as a value add, the community of communicating about applying it is that way. It's controlled, it's safe, but it's got some continuity. It goes the other way, right? You're trying to go from community to then sell, correct? So,
sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have another group that is going the way that you're mentioning from the Marie Forleo. So that's why that one makes more sense in my mind than this one.
Yeah. It's, to be honest with you, the one that I just described is the really solid way to building a group. My experience, because I have groups and then trying to migrate them, and I'm just trying to get them to migrate to a free, paid, the unpaid email. And it's not easy, because first of all, the algorithm is not helpful to you at all, right? The algorithm, even in communities, are better than pages. They're not as good as personal, but it's just the algorithm is just not helpful. So you got to work extra hard. So the only way that I can see you doing is if you can embed videos like these dialogues, something like this, right into the community. And it's almost like you're their own infomercials. I think that would be the way to cut through the chatter, get to the right algorithm, which is video is usually the best one. And then invite the people to have discussions about maybe the course, and bring on the different people as offerings as guests, like Tony's done. And you guys can talk about the different service offerings. Then you'll probably get really good engagement with the individual people in the group. And then you can make the offer, and the offer will stand whether the value proposition is there. I think it's just going to be really hard. I have 8,000 people are under entrepreneurs, and sometimes I get 15, 10 people liking a post. Like, it's astonishing how hard it can be, but it can be really high and intense, where I've seen other groups that have 100 or 200 people, because they all know each other. It's a really cool, really core ecosystem, and you get like total engagement. So it just depends on how it's built. If it's word of mouth and it's quality and stuff like that, it can be a lot easier. It's just there's no really great answer. So your question of how do you do it? It's a whole different discussion about like how do you construct it. But I think just from a messaging standpoint, just the way that communities are, it can be a little tough. Is there any other things that you're doing outside of the community to create a community ecosystem?
Yeah, so we have, out of the 100 and let's just call it 80 people, I have captured about 130 of those emails, and we have 100 of those 130 that are signed up and engaged at least once a week. And then from that, it drops down to, sorry, once again, I didn't mean to scratch my nose. It drops down into, for round numbers, that 50 to 60 mark for people that are showing up consistently on the live mastermind calls. And then from there, people that are watching the reruns are about another 20. So
man, that's incredible.
We're getting about 75 people that are following it. And then for the engagement statistics in our Facebook group, it really varies. It's so individual by day. The beginning of the week is great, where we're looking at anywhere from like 30 to 40% engagement, and then it drops into the tens when it gets to a Friday or a Saturday, and then it comes back up. And I think a part of it is because our mastermind happens to be on Monday. And so the people in and of themselves were prepped from the beginning that the leaders came together to have this free space for you guys for at least 2 months. And then we're figuring out the dynamic solutions of what to do next. And so we're hitting our midway point now, and they've been prepped that we're at our midway point of what we're able to offer. And we're going to always have a free Facebook with other options we're figuring out solutions for.
Right. So did you get the emails because you did a questionnaire at the beginning of when they log into the group?
Yeah. So I did that. And then I also did a Google form where anyone that I knew that had attended an event that this got blossomed out of, I had messaged them and said, if you're interested in doing a mastermind, sign up through this form and then capture their emails and some data that way.
Yeah, so you're going to have to start. So think of behavior. You're just basically training their behavior to be on the group, and that's where they're getting the value. It's really hard to change my behavior than to go somewhere else, right? Mm-hmm. So what you might want to do is you might go, what can I do to start migrating some of that behavior, right? So so just maybe describe for me the future state or does it exist, the paid area. Is it going to be another Facebook group? Is it going to be on a platform? Is it going to be on a website? Where is that going to exist?
That's where you come in.
You're trying to build it right now.
So I'm in the process of right now, everything simplistically is being utilized through Facebook platform, through Slack a little bit, and then also through Google and all those. So it's all very, very basic right now. And I haven't taken a step in another direction because I'm an over researcher. I want to know what's out there. I want to find out what is the best here and there so then I can utilize my time and my energy to the best way possible. Because when I learn something, I'm deep diving.
Right.
So the idea is thinking of either a separate group or a membership group. That would be a totally different website. And then they'd have to relearn that culture. So I'm curious what you think is best.
If I can just jump in here for a second, and if you're watching this and you're wondering what the heck is going on, I decided that we were going to have Amanda on speaking about this with Scott because, again, so many of us are still in some kind of some level of quarantine. And so many of us are working with Facebook and other social media platforms that I think this is just valuable all the way around to so many people. That's why we're having this conversation today. Not just this isn't specifically about Amanda and what she's doing, but this can be applied to any social media platform on how to build and create and do something. So I hope that this is valuable to all of you that are watching. So I just wanted to come in and let everyone know that so that they're not wondering, okay, why are we still talking about this? So this is why, because there's going to be a lot more, because I had a previous conversation with Amanda. There's more to come that will fill in some of the blanks. So that's it. I will silence my mic again.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah, thanks, Tony. To be honest, this is a very common question, and it's pervasive because there's so many people starting a community. Follow me. I got this community. The idea seems so great. It's like I'm trying to give value. I'm trying to add, and so forth. So the migration to another platform, another area, to me, what strikes me is creating sort of like a hybrid integration. So I mentioned Mighty Networks. The nice thing about Mighty Networks is it kind of blends together an app. It's got you can put your coursework on there. You can build community where they can talk to each other and build room stuff. So that to me is like a great place to build. And once they go there, you don't want them to go into the Facebook group, right? So you got to think of the Facebook group as sort of like rented land, and you don't have control of it. And there's so many different, and you can't communicate with everybody. But when you move to a platform like Mighty Networks or Teachable, you can actually talk to them directly and send messages, right? So you think of like Kijiji, Teachable, Mighty Networks, they all have different plus and minuses for each of them, right? It would depend on, there's so many questions to be asked about what's the course, how is it managed, because if it's not centrally managed and everybody's running their own e-com, then maybe Mighty Networks might be tough, where really it's more like Teachable and each one has their own Teachable platform, right? I don't know. The one place though that I think is really low cost, really simple to do, would be to do. This would just be one of the options. I'm not prescribing because I don't have all the details still, but one of the options would be, like we talked about this hybrid, is to have a paid private group, a new additional group, but the actual conversation happens on Zoom. And why I would say that is you no longer want the algorithm of Facebook. The whole point of the algorithm of Facebook is to bring people in. So you want that to be the free content or distributed videos that you do after. What you could do is have these videos, have some of it be edited or a portion of it, and then share it to your free group and going, the party's over here, you're missing the good content, right? So you initiate a conversation like we did here and go, oh, you really want to know how to really build your community? I guess we have to sign up, and we're going to actually go to do a deep dive on how to actually build a virtual community. So that might be a different way. Like there's different ways you can do it, but think of it as like a little bit of overlap, right? Would be the way to do it, because you want to remind somebody every day that they could have got more if they did this, right? And if you just build it over there and you keep going, hey, you should buy, it's just annoying, right? Because you've seen places where all they do is advertise going, hey, I've got another course. Hey, a countdown, like a fake countdown, right? Like it's not real. Like you got 12 hours or else it's out, and people don't buy into it anymore. They just don't fucking, like it's arbitrary. Like you're going, really, it's really, unless it's sort of like a timed mastermind, that actually might be another way to sleep the frame of your teaching. If it's always open, it's hard to create exclusivity. It's hard, to create demand, right? The challenge that you have is demand, right? You have a bit of an audience, like we need to get more volume. You have to do a conversion. How many of those 100 are going to convert? But there has to be some sort of tension. There has to be demand. Like I have to feel like there's something there I got. So you can build up demand by building up a bit of tension and some excitement about what's over there or what they're missing. And to me, I think the Zooms are making so much sense, right? Because you can record and then you can take pieces of it and then you can put the video clips back into the free group, portions of it, and then have a live, discussion about it or whatever, right? But when you have Marie Folio has a B school, it sounds like you know who she was, right? She has
I grew up like 15 minutes from her, so.
Oh, really? Yeah. So she has on her school, she has a start date and end date. That's great because then people go, oh, I got to get in, and it's like, there's tension. So you have to kind of think about what can I do to create tension to do that, and when's the right time to do it? You got 100. Sounds like you got 100 really engaged people. Going back to your outcome, how many people would you need to make it so that you felt successful?
The number that I came up with is 42. So if we have more than that, that's great. But the base number, with figuring out monetization behind the scenes and whatnot, that was where we came up with it.
I'm gonna applaud you. Like you're already you knew that number. You're doing a lot of things really on point as far as I can tell. The challenge might be confusion of what do I sign up for if there's multiple different courses, or if it's under one umbrella. What is it that what am I getting? You know what I mean? It's sometimes it's like do a guarantee. If you're not happy, give your money back. So that there's really no room for it. And to me, the one that's no one's gonna like, because it doesn't include automation, all that stuff. Go one-to-one. Literally DM you have their emails, and don't just do a blanket email. If you did a email and you did a video. Maybe it was I'm just going to give you an idea right now. Do you have, how many teachers are in the group?
5.
5? All you need is 42? What if, crazy idea, you all spent 2 hours and you go, we have 120 people here. Let's send them each a personal message, or one of them or whatever. And you send a video message going, we really have your group. And you've done some level of research of personalizing it for them, going, I know that you're doing a startup. This is what you would gain from it. It seems like it's massive amount of work, but I can tell you the idea of going, what can I do from marketing to just bridge it? It takes more time with less effect on a smaller group. Think of the fact that you only want 42 as being a blessing. You could just do it with good old fashioned one-to-one. And that's how I would do it, because when you get bigger, you won't be able to do it again. You'll wish you could.
So I thank you for that advice. And I have so many questions that pop up from that. And one of the things is, originally I was thinking, if I have this such a small group and I'm using it not only to really contribute and to help them grow, but to really help myself grow, is it effective to do that video? Or because it's so small, would it be even more effective to just put out calendar invites for 15-minute blocks and set out a certain amount to see how many people want to actually come, so I could get the feedback of what are they liking of the group so far? What else do they want to be seen from the group? Because when I put out surveys, like I put out one and I'm getting some feedback from it, but it's also a survey. So it's a click and it's a button choose. And I feel like I'm missing pieces of that. So what would you say about that?
I love the calendar invite, especially if it's going to be to engage to go, is it right for you to join the group? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, it would be to a check-in of how are you doing? And then also, okay, hey, this is what's coming up. We really want you to be a part of it, and include the call to action for them to want to sign up.
So there have to be something of value there. So it's not enough to go, I'm doing a checkup. It kind of feels like you're going, yeah, you really just want to talk to people selling. So, it's like what you could do is go get a taste of what your coaching's be like. I'm going to get 15 minutes of free coaching. And what you could do as a sequence of ideas is going, you got 120, 80 people, whatever it is, send a personal DM, voicemail, video mail, whatever, and going and inviting them, going, maybe it's the person you want to do that's going to do the 15-minute free consulting, going, hi, I'm Scott. Bob, I know that you're doing a startup and you've been in our group. We're really trying to really galvanize and kick off this small group of incredible people. We think you're one of them. I've sent you a Calendly link. It's in the link below. You can hit reply if you just want to talk on email, but if you want to set up a free 15-minute session with me, click the link. You got to do it within the next 2 weeks because we're going to be launching the program. I will be telling you a little bit more about the program, but I'm going to give you some value anyway so you can get a sense of what the event's like. If you sent someone a video like that, I'd feel like, 15 minutes of my time or 20 minutes or half an hour, I would probably do that, especially if you're really clear. So it's sort of combining being really personal and then you can just get your way right to the 42. Because if you hit 42 and that was the win, do the reverse math. How many, based on 100, you need to get a 30% close rate, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got to get real personal to get that rate.
Yeah. And I appreciate everything that you're saying. And I've worked on really creating the inside of the systems and processes of how, once you already have membership, of what to do next. And so one of the things that I love doing that I'm good at is saying, okay, you have this idea and I see the whole roadmap of how to create it. But I didn't know the marketing aspect of it. So this is just reaffirming a lot of things that I thought in my mind that I'm on the right track, and I appreciate it. And bringing that in. So as far as those, using Zoom, using StreamYard, different things, is there a platform that you like better? And what are your thoughts on integrating free webinars and then having a call to action associated with that for myself or for others?
So, okay, so a couple things to unpack there. So your question is what platform? The other question was webinars. What do I think of webinars? Webinars are great for lead bag. That's the start to initiate somebody who doesn't know anything about it. Are you talking about a paid webinar or a free webinar? I guess I'm
free webinar.
Free webinar. Who is it going to? The 100 people you already have in your group, or is it to a new audience?
That would be for a new audience.
Okay. So what's that?
Could it be for both? If you want to share the content with your current audience and also welcome other people from outside.
Yeah. So a webinar, you can invite them, so at least you're getting people in. The whole point of the webinar, what's the outcome? The outcome would be to move the relationship further for them to commit to going into your paid course, correct?
Yep.
So would it be a sample of what your course is like?
Definitely. It would be like a mini masterclass, a piece of the whole
Awesome.
thing.
Yeah, I like that too. So now I like the idea of doing, it's like having multiple ways that you want to tackle it. Don't think of it just one. I think this would just be another approach because some people are visual. Some people want to be personal. Some people just want all the details, right? So really got to think about how different people are. So I think a webinar is great because a webinar you can really promote outside of the group. You can get some fresh blood. And anyone that's in the webinar, live at the webinar, you should be recruiting them to go to the free group and get their emails, right? Like both, right? So you can market to them. And then the people that get the emails, you do the personal invite and get them to do the consultation. You kind of use that as sort of like a little bit of another lead magnet towards, I think, that sort of personal to close kind of thing. And think of that coaching as maybe a closing conversation a little bit. And most people are listening, by the way, they're going, oh my God, I got to do 100 of these. And that's like so much work. Do you know how much work it is to actually create a really good campaign, then identify it, or then put some ads to it and stuff and hope that they work? I can guarantee you, for the size of group you're talking about, that's way faster. You can literally ad lib. And more importantly, there's something you don't get when you just do one-way marketing advertising. You don't get any feedback. You don't hear what the objections are. So one of the most important things when you're doing this is to have some leading questions to go, how did you hear about us? Source. What were you most interested in? Level of interest, and more importantly, what is their highest need? What would prevent you, or like even getting some buying questions of going, what would it take for you to join something? Like what would you need to see or have? Like, to me, asking some of those questions genuinely, not from in a formula way, would be really valuable, because that feedback, for everyone that doesn't sign up, you're getting some cues, and then you can adjust your messaging really quickly. Like, you can get to 10 people and go, oh shoot, we totally got to say this, and then you'll find your way, right? So that's the nice thing about doing that too, is no different than if you go to a conference or an event, and you go there with the idea of trying to get people to do something, and you start with one message, but by the end of it, you've got it nailed down so good because you've repeated it, but you've also intuitively just adjusted because you heard people's feedback, right? That's what I think is really the power right now, that we're living in this great age where people are willing to do this. I think you got to lean into it.
Thank you. If I could just say, working in healthcare, I've run floors at the neuro ICU. I've, been the lead on spinal cord injury. And every time I go in from a therapy perspective, I think, okay, what's the assessment? What are the outcomes? And what is the intervention in between? And for so long, just for anybody at home, I thought I've been so brick and mortar for over 10 years. And only in the past year and a half is when I've done my transition and I'm pivoting over, getting smaller projects and then really creating my own space as well. I didn't realize that it could be translatable.
Totally. And I didn't see that. Almost more importantly, that you do it that way. Yeah. Everybody's skipping over the humanization of it and trying to overmarket this stuff. And right now, it just, pre-COVID, it worked a little bit, and it worked good sometimes and worked really great, very little. Now it doesn't work hardly as much because people are somewhat resistant to this, or they just have other matters in their mind. They want to know that people care until they know that what you want to sell them. Like, that's probably the most important thing, is how are you going to make them feel? Come up with a mantra. With every interaction you do in the community and this interactions, how do you want them to feel? Because what they're going to feel, they need to buy into going, I want more of that, right? The level of energy, the value that they get. They're going, crap, I got to have this in my life. Like, not to be underestimated, it's hard to do in a marketing piece, and it's overproduced marketing right now. Let's fail. You want to go authentic as heck. So that's why it's like, you might as well just do like video, FaceTime, Zoom, and video, sort of interactions, I think, because you just like get right to it. And you can give some.
I'm on the right track. What's
that?
I said, so I'm on the right track.
Well, it sounds like you're on the right track. You've done so many of the right things. Probably one of the biggest things that trips people up is this is just like a blanket statement. It's not, I'm not suggesting you're doing this at all. One is you make changes, but you do it indiscriminately. You go, okay, we're going to do this. You want to be really careful about when you're trying, once you get sort of like you got your basic messaging down, changing only a variable that you know to know if it made the difference or not, because otherwise you make changes, you don't know what made the difference. Does that make sense?
100%.
The reasoning is changing one item in marketing, and so that you know what made the difference or if it didn't make the difference. You can be a little bit more of that on the human side, but something to be mindful of, because I think that sometimes you don't know how you got here, and then you try to repeat it or try to scale it, and you don't know why it's not working, right? You got what's called a false positive, and then you kind of move forward, right?
Well, it's the same thing like if you're preparing for golf or anything like that. Oh, sorry, Tony.
No, it's such a great distinction. You shared that with the group 2 weeks ago, I think maybe 2 calls ago. And that's a great distinction, is making small incremental shifts so that you can see what's working. Because if you change 5 things, you don't know what one thing did it. Maybe the 4 things you didn't have to change at all.
Well, there's a time and place for a massive shift, but what happens sometimes is bubbles. So here's an example: Tony World bubble, Tony Robbins, right? You got talking to a bunch of plats. You're like, our message works. It's like great, but all you've been talking to is 20 plats, or you're talking to like, plat people or Tony people or something. Then you try in another group, it doesn't work. Why? Right? You got to think of like little tribes, or that's why it's so important to really understand your messaging and your personas. So like really, who are the people you're trying to service, the feeling and outcome that they want to have. Like if you just say they're startups, well, maybe you need to zero in and go, are these startups that really have a mindset issue and they don't have the comfort or the courage or they've never been an entrepreneur before, so they're not really sure, they're unsure of themselves? Well, maybe that's like a group. Where there's other entrepreneurs that are seasoned entrepreneurs. Well, if you're serving both, like maybe there's a distinction. Like sometimes it's not like demographics. I just did a podcast of the guy that's got the largest value graphics database. I'm going to release the podcast soon. Fascinating. Love it, because people's values don't change. And like I've always thought that targeting by value is way better than all the targeting systems that we have right now on Facebook. Like I do not act my age. I still skateboard to the mailbox. Like I'm my age I probably shouldn't be, right? So to me, that is probably something to lean into as well, is to go, what's the mindset? Maybe it's more like a mindset tribe. This group, I don't know. Like we don't have enough information or time to kind of delve into that a little bit. But to me, really knowing who you're trying to talk to, that shapes your message, your value proposition, what tools you use as an instrument. Like, because if they're an older group, something like the Mighty Networks is going to probably be too techy for them. Zoom is probably techy enough. Like you got to think of the age group as well. If they're really young, they might be Slack might be great. Like so, that's another factor.
No, that's awesome. I appreciate it. And
so, an answer.
No, it's expanding on what my mind was thinking and what it was dreaming of, and it's answering so many more pieces to it. And I just appreciate your intelligence and your ability to deliver, because a lot of people like to market the marketing answer, and you're a straight shooter.
Yeah, I'm the marketer who's like become disenchanted with marketing, but I love marketing, so I'm just trying to like balance between the two a little bit or something, right? So if I were to ask you, what's the feeling that you want these people to have? What's the outcome if they're finished this course? What is the feeling you want them to have?
Confidence to take action steps with their business.
Awesome. So if I were to reverse that, right? What would be the offer? If you are not feeling confident that you understand the steps to succeed and see through your plans for your entrepreneurship, this might be the course for you. Do you see what I mean?
100%.
The feeling and sort of like the problem you're solving, they're really close together sometimes. Some people go like find the need. Sometimes find the feeling, right? Like I know that's so not marketing. That's like so not like good marketing to go find the feeling. But I kind of feel like it's a bit of a gut check, right? You kind of go, like you can tell, like, we want this group to be really like collaborative, and like I think a lot of people discount that stuff as woo-woo or too soft. I disagree. I think that leads you to a lot of places to almost even shape the kind of language that you have or the comfort level. Are you really educational and stern and detailed, or are you kind of casual and open and inclusive? Like you got to really be clear about that. It's called the branding process, but I'm just kind of riffing on what that would look like.
Yeah, listen, finding the feeling is really, and Tim just he just typed that as I'm saying that. Finding the feeling is so important because it's how you make people feel, right? I mean, Maya Angelou said it the best. It's how you make people feel. That's how they're going to remember you, right? It's not what you say, it's not what you do, it's how you make them feel. So if you can go right to that feeling and that people want to get, that's where that sweet spot is. What's the feeling that they're going to get?
Sometimes people don't know what they need. They don't even know what they don't know, especially when it comes to marketing and entrepreneurship, right? I'm starting new. I have a head full of ideas going, it's going to be amazing, right? So, and I may not even want to admit that I'm not confident. But if you make me feel that way, that I know that what you're saying, this is what you're going to get. You're going to be able to have the actionable steps. You're going to be around people who are seasoned, who are going to be supportive. We're going to put you in a direction. And you know what? Not everybody's entrepreneur journey is the same. That's okay, because this is perfect for you. Because we adapt it to each entrepreneur. And there's a lot of commonalities that we'll be able to share. And there's going to be some areas that we're going to be able to make it very specific to you. That to me would speak really well to me. I'd be like, oh, cool, okay, I could. So those are kind of language things that you can kind of play with a little bit. But it's about the feeling. What I described is the feeling I want this person to have is to go, this is the place for me, right? They need to feel that there's no other option. It's not that there's no other option. It sounds the right way word. The right way for branding really is that they see you as the only solution, and they know it and they can feel it, right? They go, this is exactly. It's exactly the same thing happened when I went to my first Tony Robbins event. I looked around and went, these are my fucking people. I'm like, oh my God, I finally, for once in my life, didn't feel like a freaking weirdo, right? I'm like, oh my God, this is great. Like, they're doing some weird stuff, and I kind of am okay with it, right? Like, so, does that make sense?
100%. From the moment you said that, I think I found my pack and my tribe with the Tony Robbins people. I'm totally on board with that. So, and it's all about
people we're trying to serve. Mm-hmm. What is that? So describe these people you want to serve. What do they look like? What is the tribe you're trying to build?
Hypothetically or realistically?
Well, I don't know how to answer.
I didn't know if it was an open-ended question or if you want me to answer it.
No, I like to answer it. Like, what would be that? Like, if you could describe your tribe that you're trying to aim for, describe it.
The tribe would be a unified collective. So, interesting statistic is that the tribe is actually 85% women. Not to knock any of the guys, and the majority of. And so the idea is to have a place where everyone has the option of knowing that they're seen and that they're heard, and that they have some sort of opportunity to move forward. A lot of this was birthed out of my reason why it was birthed out of is because whenever we go to these courses, we go to Tony Robbins, we go other places. A lot of the times, if you don't buy the additional course, then what happens if you don't do the additional sign up? And so you learn what you learn from the content from that course. And unless you hire a coach or unless you go buy something for a couple $1,000, $4 or five-figure ticket price, you get lost or you get stuck. And so I wanted to create something that had an environment where it was always an inclusive environment where you were moving together with a team-based approach. So you always felt like there was never the last duck in the V. You always switched places and creating an opportunity for it to be, I worked with like big brother, little sister campaigns throughout growing up and yoga, just so many different things of mindset, spirituality. And that in this, there's an infrastructure that I have in my mind where you're going to have an individual mentor above and a mentor below you. So you're always going to have someone before and after you, and that's what's going to help tie together that idea that this is a tribe, and reminds me of ecosystem merging and each one teach one, those types of principles, if that helps.
Mm-hmm. Is there any reason why you don't make it just for women?
No, there's no reason for not doing it. It happened to be that the net that was casted and the people that had attended the event was, I think, 70% women that had attended the event. And so it was just the outcome of what had happened at that moment.
It's like, to me, the real win right now is when you're very, very specific, because it allows you to go deep, right? It allows you to go deep, whether it's a topic deep or if it's type of what they're going to learn or it's the person you're targeting. Because what happens when people move on things and they go, oh, that's for me. So if you were to say, this is the surfing marketing course that you're going to do some artwork and you're going to listen to like really rad tunes, I'd be like, oh, that's perfect for me, right? Like, so I'm not saying you should or shouldn't. I'm just more asking the question just to think a little bit about the narrowing process. The more specific you can be by feeling, and being general, like with male versus female, but sometimes it doesn't matter, right? Like, I know some people are like, don't want to be divisive, you don't want to have to know, but I actually think sometimes that's okay, especially when you're starting one, to have like a really narrow focus. But it can just be by feeling, or it can just be by type. If you're for example, if you're an entrepreneur who hasn't launched your business, you're not making a profit, and you're under a year, then you're probably perfect for this course. Like, that would be very specific. Going, oh, that's me, right? So if you can be very deliberate like that, I think it gets people. It also motivates people more. And it allows you to kind of like when you're doing a webinar to really do your targeting. Because then you can be very specific. Hey, we know that you're embarking on a new journey. This was maybe a side hustle idea you were thinking about before COVID. Now you're launching it. We're here to help. If you're under a year or under 6 months of launching this business and you're still looking to turn a profit, this is the course. Like whatever, right? To me, that also would be a very powerful mechanism for success for you.
I appreciate that. And to be mindful of your time and the time, I had 2 other main questions, and one of them has to do with funnel fun. What are your thoughts? When to implement them? Is there a certain amount of number of people when you switch over from more of this one-on-one based interaction to a true funnel? And what do you think?
So what's a true funnel?
The F word.
Yeah, what's a true funnel?
Friday. I mean, I think that if you are
talking about like the product called ClickFunnels or just the funnel in general?
Well, as I understand, we're talking about funnels right now. I'm meaning it more if you're using a website where you're doing the process of capturing someone's email, giving them a freebie, having them follow up and go through that whole process. Like when is a good time to implement something like that? Maybe not for me right now, but in the future, is there an algorithm when you use them?
No algorithm. I feel like the answer is something like this. It's a funnel. If you want to use a funnel, like just in terms of, a funnel is really what's hijacked. Funnel is a process of from top to bottom, people who maybe like are awareness at the top, and then down at the very, very tippy bottom is someone who's giving you an email, and you're going to move through awareness, consideration, comparison, purchase. So those are sort of like the general phases, right? So in the awareness phase, you're trying to get as many people, but you want to move them from awareness to going, hey, we're going to consider this. From considering this, you want them to go either do a comparison going, well, this versus that, hopefully not something else, right? Because we all do it. Like we'll all go, am I buying a Mac or am I buying a, whatever? Like we're always trying to just make sure that before you make your last decision, like which of the 2 or whichever options are. That's why you see a lot of really smart marketers will go, hey, I already did the comparisons for you. See, we have more features than that. You'll see that on platforms like Teachable. They'll go, compare us with Kijiji or Kijiji versus, like they'll just do that, right? Because they're trying to get you from you already considering, they're trying to move you to the bottom of the funnel really quick, right? So if that's what you're talking about a funnel, you should be doing it right away. A funnel is really more of a strategy of narrowing people, but no longer is a typical funnel how people buy. If you think of yourself and you're buying, how often do you sometimes like, I kind of track along it, and then sometimes I get in a funnel, or sometimes I'm on Instagram and I just impulsively buy it. You don't really buy things the same way. I think that that's why I like the word ecosystem, is you want to build an ecosystem where everywhere you go, there you are, and everywhere you are is something of value that's drawing you into the bottom of the funnel, which is an email. Getting an email and permission to talk to them is really the holy grail. So if you look at whether on Instagram, you just kind of build this ecosystem, really trying to figure out where people are or how they buy. But the other challenge of that can be trying to be everywhere and being nowhere. So what you want to maybe do is pick 1 or 2 channels that your resources or your skill set, or more importantly, your energy is really pumped about, that you can connect on, and start there. You know what I mean? Like you'll see a lot of times, I think we had this conversation on our last session, is a lot of times people feel like they have to be everywhere and they'll just put the same content everywhere. And then it doesn't really feel like it's really like, so maybe just treat each one like their own, and really pick maybe 2 that you really want to lean into, that that you have the energy for and you're excited about. But that funnel process, I think you should start immediately. You should have a landing site that allows people to convert into a conversion. Even if people think of all the people that came to your Facebook group that didn't sign up, but if you saw a link and they would subscribe and there's something of value for them on the other side, that would be an incredible opportunity. I just got off a long conversation with a guy I'm recording. It's one of the top guys in the world around. I'm actually doing a podcast, if you can believe it. If you listen to my podcast, I'm doing a podcast on how to advertise on LinkedIn. I am not I'm the advertising the last dollar you spend, but I'm actually having this guy on because he actually he knows exactly who should be doing it at what time, and what's the metrics to decide if it's right for you. That's actually sustainable for a little group, right? So we're going to talk about it. So to me, that might be something to think about. Is like, where do you want to actually have these interactions?
Well, first of all, where can I find your podcast? Because I'm just going to go plug you into my ears. Oh, at groundswell.fm.
Groundswell.fm is the homepage. And you can go from there, and it'll take you on Spotify or whatever. I'm on iTunes. Just type in Groundswell. I'll be the easiest one to be found. I just did a recording right now. It's totally trending on mindful marketing with Master Co. It's blowing up so big. I got like my YouTube channel is just like, it's like all the other ones. It's like Master Co. and then all the rest are like not even close second.
That's epic. Why did you get into marketing?
What's that?
Why did you get into marketing?
I think ever since I was little, I've always been marketing. I actually grew up as a church kid, meaning my parents were quite religious. I was actually a missionary kid. I lived in the Philippines when I was young. I had a pet monkey and everything, you know. And as early as I can remember, I actually made illegal eucalyptus cigarettes in my missionary school, and even branded them with little lightning bolts on them. And I made a killing. Like I've been branding since I was like out of the womb, you know. And I did marketing, like, and I think it's because it creates creative thinking. It's business, and it's like working with it's like problem solving in a way, and that you know, I don't know. I just always liked it.
That's awesome.
I don't know. That's a really good answer.
The gamification might be the big money taker there.
The what's that?
The gamifying it, you know, making it into fun. You know, LinkedIn, I've been telling people for a while, like, get on LinkedIn. People are like, I don't use LinkedIn anymore. And I don't know why. I heard it somewhere maybe, and I just keep telling people to check it out because.
So it's so funny. Sometimes people go, well, like, okay, depending on what you're doing. Like right now, if you're targeting people, if your people are not on LinkedIn, then don't market there, right?
No, your avatar is
everybody down here that's listening and going, yeah, I'm not on Twitter. I don't do Twitter. But you're trying to build a business. You know, you might want to try LinkedIn. You might want to just at least be on there. You know, I think that there was a time when people said that internet thing's probably going to be a trend. You know, and nowadays you just don't know. Like some people go Twitter until yesterday or Facebook. It just depends on the audience and also level of comfort. Like, you know. Although the one that I think that everybody's like misdirected on is TikTok. It's the same thing I felt before with Vines. I never invested time in Vines because they're not sustainable. You can't really produce content. It's about entertainment. It's not about education. It doesn't have a proper way of migration. Like I know that probably someone out there's going, but TikTok, I heard you can make millions. I'm here to tell you, it's going to die just like on the Vine, just like Vine did. It's like Snapchat. Where's Snapchat? That's part of my business strategy. I'm not trying to hark on them, but it's like you really just got to really know your audience. I just got ran.
You got to go where you're comfortable.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just ran. I don't know why. I just kind of had an angry moment about Snapchat.
No, I mean, for me, Snapchat is a ghost for a reason. That's their logo, and now poof, I don't know where they went. I used to love them as a user, and now they're just not.
Yeah, and some places are good for consuming content.
Yeah.
Some places, that's the thing, is really understanding the channel. And understanding your audience and channel. Think of it like watering holes. You know, it's like some watering holes are made for big animals and some are made for different, like, they're just different watering holes that people get and they congregate. How do they congregate there, right? What are they doing there? You know?
So with podcasts, when do you start doing podcasts?
When do I, or when should somebody?
Just in general. So, you know, if someone were new to the game and they didn't have a group and they said, I want to build an audience and I want to get my word out there, what is the best platform to do that on? Is it YouTube? Is it Facebook? Is it podcasting? Does it depend upon the content?
So I guess the first thing the very first thing I'd say is, what's your message and who's your audience? Like, do you have something to actually say? How many people have podcasts and have anything fucking really valuable to say? You're just going to get lost. It's going to be a waste of energy, and you're going to go, podcasts don't work. So the question is really more about, it's not about the platform. It's, what do you want the podcast to do? Are you trying to monetize something? Are you trying to create yourself as a thought leader? Are you trying to build an audience so that eventually that will be supporting to doing, you know, something else? It goes back to what is the objective of the podcast? No different than any other channel. So in that case, what would you say is the objective?
Well, I'm going to push this one over to Tony because he's doing the video Tony Talks pod, and this is essentially a virtual podcast.
So I know a little bit about this. The question I'd say is, then what's the difference between the video and then the podcast? If you're just going to make the video and the podcast, how are they special? How are they different?
I think it's the way that people consume the content. Podcasts, I know people are probably consuming more video now because, excuse me, they have more screen time. It's actually good, by the way, Amanda, that you came on. You're asking and you're interacting a lot because my voice, I'm outside, which is great, but the allergies, it's not COVID, by the way, not Corona. The allergies that these trees are really getting, these trees are really getting me today. But I think that video right now, people have more screen time than they have before. And I think podcasts are more when people are going jogging or they're exercising, they're at the gym, they're driving to work, they're on the subway, they're on the bus, whatever it is. So I think that there's that. Obviously, I started doing video, so I enjoy doing it this way. And one of the things that I've been working on is stripping the audio out of it to be able to make it a podcast. Not everyone is going to work the same way because if you have, as we were speaking, Scott, last week, if you're using slides or making a presentation of some sort, it's not going to translate well into a podcast. So it's going to have to be very well edited for that. But it really does depend on what the message you're trying to do. Are you just trying to share information? Are you trying to be a thought leader? Are you trying to market a product? Are you trying to sell a program? Because so many of them are different, right? So I don't know if that just answered the question, or if I just kind of went around.
So basically, it's an extension of Tony Talks, and you want to have it so that people can use the net time when appropriate. Okay, cool. Now I understand. So you're going back to your question, Amanda, was what? It was now what do I do with it? Or
when is a good time to make a podcast? I know right now, if you think about how many users are using platforms like Instagram or Facebook, or I'm going to put TikTok not in this category, YouTube or podcasts, like podcasts, from my knowledge, has the least amount of user base. So you have the big creators of the content. So you have the biggest opportunity to get in front of people if you were to compare that to YouTube, where it has so many more channels.
The short answer for every one of these is yesterday. It's always easier yesterday than it is today to be on it. I mean, if you're already building an audience, you'd already have momentum. There's more people that are onboarding now more than ever with podcasts that are, because it's becoming easier to get on, so it's going to be more competitive, but there's just so much potential space. The key is, going back to my very, very beginning comment, which is, how are you different? Like the messaging, like how is it that the value proposition of the podcast can be communicated so you can differentiate yourself or talk to a really niche group so you can really anchor with that. The nice thing with Tony and what you got 20 Talks here is you got some ability to build the ecosystem going, hey, did you miss it? Maybe you leave the lives for being live, and there's a certain play life to it, and then you got to listen to the podcast. There's a reason to get the podcast or something. Or you do bonus content at the end of this. There's like 15 minutes that's just pure additional stuff that you can only get if you get on the podcast or something. You can play with it a little bit to make it different, but if you just straight up did what you're doing, I mean, I'd say that you should have done it already.
The great thing to that, Scott, is that there's always 15 or 20 minutes. You and I, everybody that I have on, we always have 15 or 20 minutes conversation afterwards, just a wrap up.
What you need to do is you need to have a question going, okay, so if you could answer this one question, I'll go, yep, and then you go, okay, that's the end of the podcast. If you want the rest, you got to sign up. Boom. Then you and I finish the conversation. They're like, like you could totally make it like the cliffhanger. That's your ultimate opt-in funnel. That would be really good, actually.
Yeah. So anyone who's listening, if you want to know the secrets to life, you've got to sign up.
That's right. Tony Talks, yeah.
Going back to that is, when you have a landing page, is there a specific software that you like the best for when you're creating landing page before you get into other things?
Yeah, landing page design, first of all, the question is, what is your site in? Like sometimes like Kajabi or Money Networks, they do a good enough job that you don't need to build anything outside that. You want to stay resident on the platform. It just means it's all there. The metrics can be there. The problem, there's always an upside and downside, right? The problem with that could be is now you're married to that group. Now, what happens if you want to migrate and do a different thing? Have you pointed the wrong domain? Is it a domain redirect or using the platform's domain? Like, so many things you can do that can paint you in a corner. But if you're committed to it, you can go there. For me, I'm totally about sustainability. I want control of my own land. I don't trust anyone. I want to be able to know what's my out factor. If I want to shut that down with a click of a button, I can still control it. So for me, having something as simple as like a Squarespace hub site, and having land sites, and then integrating my whatever funnels that are going to go to the site is probably. But the good thing is you can make a page on Squarespace function like a ClickFunnels. Why pay for it? Like, to me, it's, so you just need to follow the same process. So, and that's so way cheaper. And you can just repoint a domain and set up a new website, and you always have control of it. So for me, my baseline strategy and my resources, my threshold, all those things I asked about before about engaging with your client, what are those things? Mine's different than somebody else. Somebody else I want it to be as easy as possible. It may be a full turnkey solution. They just need to know they're going to give up on some customization, or what happens a lot of times, they go, yeah, don't worry about it, I'll deal with it later. And then you're on the hook for it. And then they go, yeah, we changed our mind. And then you're like screwed. That has happened so many times. Even when I document with the client, they're like, yeah, but we shouldn't have done that. And I'm like, so I kind of really am a hard nose about ClickFunnels and stuff, because they're kind of shackling you to the system. And I'm all about helping you be free from the system. I feel like, I sound a little bit like a, freedom fighter, but that's kind of what I'm doing for entrepreneurs, is gaining you total control of your business and confidence to move forward, that you can make moves, make changes, adapt to the changes, and not be going, oh shit. And that's the problem with all the social channels. It's rented. It's worse than rented land. I know everybody's like trying to predict these movies, because they can change the rules on you. Sorry, man.
No, it's literally like you have a storage container that's outside, and you sign up for a certain amount of money per month to get what you need, and then all of a sudden it switches over, and you have no choice because you don't have that same house anymore, and you have your storage there, and you're committed to being there or selling it. So that switches over into I want to be mindful of the time. That switches over into the question of how important is a domain name?
So again, I have a different view than most people.
Sorry to interrupt. I'm going to make that one the last question, and then you can stay on afterwards for a few minutes on the after the show for anything else. But I want to be mindful of everyone who's watching as well. We're already at 1 hour and 7 instead of an hour, so we'll answer that one and then wrap it.
Okay. So a question. I'll ask you a question. So if you're selling shoes, that's the business that you're in, and you had shoes.com, or you had shoes-laces-rubber.com or .org or whatever, which would you prefer to have?
Simpler.
I mean, yeah. So because what happens with marketing, whether you like it or not, is on one level, it's about word of mouth, right? Like easier for people to share and to be able to remember is a really important thing, right? And a lot of times people get cryptic with names, but also on the other hand of it, some people are a little bit too going, it's got to be a .com, but you can't get a good .com. But they're fixated on .com. It's got to be a .com. So the way I would look at domains, and I have a really strong viewpoint, because I actually have so many domains under management, and I've been buying and selling domains for years. Most people don't know that. In fact, I bought .eco when it came out within like weeks, because I was waiting for it to come out. And the reason why I picked .eco is because I'm going, there's not going to be another domain that comes out that adds value to the words in front of it. .com will always be king. But if you have .com and it's gobbledygook.com, no one remembers it. So then it's kind of got less value. If you had a great name, but it was .org, it's probably okay, right? So, so a lot of people, they kind of have a hang up. They have a story about the .com. You just got to kind of balance out between the situation you're in. And sometimes, for example, I own personal branding .marketing or personal brand .marketing. The nice thing about that is when it appears in text and social media, it says exactly what it is. Groundswell .marketing. I own that domain. That's what my company is. That's great. If it was, I wish I had groundswell.com. I never had that choice, but I had to get groundswell.marketing. It works. You know what I mean? So it's like, how important is the name? It is your calling card. By people can remember it. Does it make sense of it? And this is a really important one. Can they trust it? Think of the URL that you send to somebody. If it's something weird, it's like people have a certain level of, are they going to click on it? Right? So that to me is something that plays into it as well. I like the .eco for me because I could get a family of names because I was able to get them early enough. And plus, I'm all about marketing ecosystems and also about sustainability. So it kind of works for me. I think a bigger question is the domain. What is the purpose of the domain? And almost always, it's meant to be the calling card of the business. And so you really want to be mindful of, somewhere the balance between getting the .com or the better names with something that can just make sense that people can trust, right? And I think it's okay. People now are understanding. They realize that domains of the battle is out and different names exist, or people have to make a little bit longer names and stuff. I think people understand. It's not as uppity as it used to be about, what that is. So
awesome. Well, listen, Amanda,
I don't know. Did I really answer the question? Like, is that really what you're asking me?
Yeah, I mean, my brain has 3,000 questions now because of this. Because to me, marketing is something that I was fearful of a while ago because I didn't have to do it. I worked for a hospital and I was always fixated on creating the infrastructure, working on patient-driven outcomes or helping with fundraising or monetization. And I didn't have to worry about this. They had a whole team for it. So at first I looked at this and I was like, holy shit, this is like opening up the hood of a car for the first time when I was younger and going, all right, I know I have to jump it. I know there's a battery in there, but where is it? And now I feel like I know where the battery is. I know where the air, I know where the filter is. I know where the intake is. I know where the oil is. I know where you can do it. I might be able to change the oil. I might not be able to change the filter yet, but I have a much better map as to where to turn to. So thank you.
So no problem. And so I got one thing to leave you with on the domains is, think of domains like, when you ever play the game Monopoly?
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, boardwalk is .com. Like, you want to think of, like, many people, they buy domains after they have an idea, but they've been thinking about it forever. I would encourage you, if you have an idea, that the domains that you probably want is less likely to be bought tomorrow than it would be today when it was available. It's just more people going online than ever before. I actually have domains that I'm sitting on that I have no intention of doing anything with for maybe years, right? Because I wanted to get ahead of it. I think of it like buying property. I want to buy land where I can secure, and also IP control. You want your IP, meaning whatever brand you're creating or name you want to be able to control it, because there'd be nothing worse than coming up with an incredible name or brand or idea, and then someone else has got it, and it's, it just gets in the way of you being able to execute it well. So,
well, thank you so much.
You're welcome. And just because you got a good domain doesn't mean you're going to get a good result. That's just
100%.
Yeah. That's it. Well, thank you both for coming on. Scott, thanks again, man, for coming on. I appreciate you coming on and hanging out with me every Monday or the Idle Wednesday, depending on like we did last week. So I appreciate you coming on. Amanda, thank you for coming on and sharing and asking questions. And if you're watching, thank you all for watching, commenting, asking your questions. And we look forward to continuing to serve you. Tomorrow we have another great show. And remember, my friends, and hopefully this was valuable to you, because there was we interlaced so many different questions, from websites to podcasts to domains to just Facebook marketing and LinkedIn, which is something that I've got to dive into a little bit, as many of us do, and so many different platforms. So I hope that you got value from this. If you did, we obviously love you to follow Scott and go to groundswell.fm and listen to his podcast, chocked with great information. You can also follow him on Instagram at tribe.eco. Follow me on Instagram, Tony Rodriguez 2.0. And remember, my friends, that life is not about how many times you fall, just like business. It's not about how many times you fall. It's about getting up after every fall. And remember that when you fall, you grow. And when you fall, you learn. And when you get up, you grow. So, and every single time we fall, we have the opportunity to get up and grow. And grow we must. Appreciate you all, my friends. Thank you for watching. And I will see you again tomorrow. Same time, same place. Ciao. For now. Bye, guys.